Three seconds.
What are the differences between education and indoctrination?
When you're speaking about education, it is something that your mind is normally open for. When education...
Because the roaring water waves, form the basis of quantum theory in the sense that it actually gave the waves, okay? And then you have atom that's shooting out of the waves. That's the building block, okay, of the entire universe, okay? Atom, okay, which is today is called atom. Okay? This, as the ancient Africans had it, was the basis of, and this is the water waves, okay? This is the roaring water waves of none, okay? And out of it comes the atom, which is the building block. And of course, atom is a hydrogen atom, okay? With a proton and a neutron and an electron out there. That's what atom in the model of the ancient Africans was like. Okay? All right. So, in summary, that's what Gaggard has done in terms of the origin of the universe. Of course, there's mathematics behind that. And so, ancient Africans, by the way, atom is the base of the quantum theory that is being studied today. Okay? The hydrogen atom as a building block was the one that was examined by the modern day quantum theorists to look at if they can break it further, okay, from the model that was given by the ancient Africans.
That's the atom.
That's atom, that's correct, the hydrogen atom, okay? They want to see if you could actually break it further down. And they've actually come up with what they call quarks and leptons as the more fundamental. It turns out that the leptons are basically electron-like, okay? They have characteristics of electron, positive, negative, the charges may be different and so on and so on, but basically they're electrons. So they didn't go too far from the model given by the ancient Africans. So you can say that the ancient Africans are the fathers, grandfathers, and grandmothers of the quantum theory. But they did more than develop a quantum theory, okay? Because the atom as a building block was such a successful, concrete model, okay? They were able to develop a lot of, the beginnings of knowledge as we know it today.
What the quantum theory is.
All right. Quantum simply means particle. Quantum. It's another one for particle. A particle, yes. A particle, okay? Now, and that's what the ancient Africans presented. A particle that has a proton in the core and a neutron, and outside, rotating around it, is an electron. This was called hydrogen atom. Okay? This is the ancient, Now, in other words, quantum theory looks at a universe that's made up of particles. Particles. That's basically about quantum theory. Particles. So when you say that the universe is made up of particles, then you are interested in finding the most fundamental particle that constitutes this world that you're looking at. That's the whole theory about quantum theory. And that is where the ancient Africans began. That idea is purely theirs because when they were thinking about it, they precede everybody. They were there, they were thinking about this way before everybody. Okay? Because we're talking more than 20,000 years ago. Okay? So, and that idea is what is quantum theory today.
Welcome to the show, Gilchrist Experience. Minister Clemson Brown, I know that's in your living room, and Professor Yibo's been a mentor of yours for quite a few years now.
That is correct.
It's good to see him.
Yeah.
We've been trying to get him on the show for how many years now?
37.
It ain't been that long.
But we're talking about Skyping him in, you know.
Okay.
Well, all right, let's go with this amazing theory, quantum physics, or supposedly he proved Einstein's theory of relativity.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for us, us laymen, oh my goodness, you know, how do we break this down? What is he talking about?
You know, from the time that I met Professor Yibo, I tried to understand what he was saying from a spiritual perspective.
Okay.
Because mathematics, you know, it just blew me away. I'm not good in mathematics. But I could understand what he was saying from a spiritual dimension, and it made all the sense in the world. And I was able to travel with him throughout Nigeria for peer review, where they brought in the best minds from all over the planet. They brought in mathematicians from Cambridge, from everywhere, for peer review. And Professor Yibo gave 18 lectures, zonal lectures in Nigeria. So we covered all of the universities of Nigeria. And they had one day in which he just lectured. And the next day, they tried to eat him alive, you know, because they would take notes and then they come back and they would challenge him on his theory, his equation, etc. But
Why?
when the dust settled,
Why?
because they wanted to make sure that it wasn't a fluke, you know,
Okay.
they wanted to make sure it was correct.
Okay.
So, and that's what scientists do. That's what
course.
these mathematicians do. They're not giving anybody anything.
Right.
You know, they're trying to prove if it's correct or not correct. So the challenge was stiff. It was.
What is Yibo's theory prove?
Well, what his theory proves for us is that there is one energy.
Okay.
One energy. That whole philosophy that he goes through in terms of the universe and particles and so forth shows that the Africans understood the universe.
He's talking about 20,000 years ago.
Right, because when you look at it, you know, when you look at what he is saying, he breaks down how the universe operates.
How it was born.
And there's one source of energy. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed. There's one source of energy, and that energy permeates the entire universe. In fact,
Which is
it
hydrogen?
Yes, that it permeates. That energy is all there is. You are that energy. I'm that energy. Everything is that energy. The water is that energy. The tree is that energy. So when they say God is everywhere, they're talking about that energy, that one, you know, there is only that energy. So when you begin to understand
Is hydrogen in everything?
hydrogen, yes.
Hydrogen in everything that exists.
Hydrogen in everything that exists, yes.
Okay.
So when Professor Yibo breaks down the African worldview, and when you hear Professor Small say something like, we are gods having a human experience. He's codifying, or he's saying that, you know, you are God, I'm God, you are God, because there's only one energy. So God is in everything, and everybody is an aspect of God, a real aspect of God. So when you begin to understand that the ancient Africans understood this in their worldview.
Right.
And it's like taking the drop of water from the ocean
Right.
and putting it under a microscope. Every element in the drop of water, every element in the ocean is in the drop of water.
Okay.
You are a universal drop of water. Every element in the universe is in you.
Right.
But like the drop of water, you know, you can't go fishing in it, you can't put a boat, you know, you can't swim in it. It's just a drop.
Right.
But if you take that drop and put it back in the ocean, then the drop becomes inseparable from the ocean, and all the power of the ocean, the drop assumes, because you can't separate the drop from
Right.
it. So our ancestors understood this, and that's why they created the principles of Ma'at. So that when you live Ma'at, truth, justice, balance, harmony, reciprocity, Ma'at, when you begin to understand Ma'at and you live Ma'at, then you remove yourself, you remove the ego, and you put your drop, your universal drop, back into
the
oneness
universe.
with the universe.
Okay.
So it is not you who speak anymore, but the universe speaking through you. Now that becomes important, especially now when we are under such an attack,
Right.
with all of you know, attempts of extermination, etc. You can't kill God.
Right.
And the more we begin to understand who we are and our oneness with the Creator, you can't kill us, because the more at one, the more we understand our relationship with the universe or with God, then the more we allow God to flow through us. And so that's indestructible. And that's where we are at this particular time. There, you know, our oneness with the universe, you know, preachers try to project this, but, you know, through Christianity and through Islam and so forth. But unless you really go to ancient African religion, and it's not religion, an ancient African understanding of their oneness with the universe,
Right.
and Ma'at and the role that living truth,
Right.
because truth is God. I mean, you know, mathematics is the language of God. Mathematics is the language of the universe. And when you begin to think on that level and become conscious on that level and live on that level, then this world that is trying to destroy you, they're after black folk, because you can't kill God, so you try to kill the
spirit.
people
The
of
spirit.
God, the force of God, the chosen of God, and that's us.
Well,
you know.
we as a spiritual people understand that we've always referred to that as we've got soul. We've
Right.
got the love energy. Well, why isn't that all that love energy projected towards each other more?
Because we don't understand it. It's not internalized. It's really not in our conscious. We live out of the mind of the European, who captured
The slave master.
the slave master. Yeah, you know.
He's
the
enslaved our mind.
Yes, the Neanderthal. We are living the principles. We're living the spiritual
But you have the
life
answer,
force.
my brother. We have the answer. We know we're spiritual beings. How is it that we can't convince all of us that we're spiritual beings?
That is true.
You've got
That's a
various
good question.
spirits.
That's a good
And
question.
You got varying spirits,
Very.
and they're not all in agreement. Granted, every element in the earth is in the human body.
Right.
Gold, silver, magnesium, copper, manganese, calcium. It's in the human body, because man is made out of the dust. He's made out of the earth. He comes from the elements of the earth. So, and we return to it. And when we were doing, remember we did the fire walks at St. Paul.
Right.
So we would walk hot coals, walk over hot coals. And I said to some children one night, I said, if you can understand that this is not about the fire and the coals,
About mine.
every element in this bed of coals is in your body. And I told them, if you can seek to live in harmony and in peace with the earth, the people on it, the animals on it, everything. I said, these coals don't become a factor because what is there is in you. Mm-hmm. The next night, about 30 of those children walked on the coals, all right?
Mind over matter, really.
And we've walked the coals. I don't know how many times we did the fire walks. No, nobody ever got burned. And we need to understand that there is a balance in all of creation. Mm-hmm. And when you upset that balance, you bring devastation and ruin to yourself or to others. Man cannot violate the earth and think that he can live on it.
Mm-hmm. That is true.
Can't do it. Because the earth is suffering only because of man. Without man, the planet Earth would be a paradise.
Mm-hmm.
There'd be no pollution, you know, nothing. You wouldn't have DDT in Antarctica, but for what man has done to pollute the earth. Mm-hmm. Right. Animals would not be extinct if it were not for man. Mm-hmm. So man is the only creature on this planet that is about destruction and destroying unnecessarily. Mm-hmm. When animals kill, they kill to eat. They don't kill just for the sake of killing. Mm-hmm. So there's something wrong with this species.
Man doesn't know his spiritual nature.
Well, let me put it this way. If you know, we just finished doing a lecture series at Mount Episcopal Baptist Church. Mm-hmm. We did a 10-week lecture series covering world history from the origins of man to issues and events of today. Okay. Mm-hmm. And we started with looking at human beings going back, you know, millions of years ago, following them all the way up to today. And when you get to the European, mm-hmm. you know, when the African gets trapped in Europe and goes through the mutation, through the ice, he had to become the ice to survive the ice, just like you say, the elements. He had to become his environment in order to survive that ice 3 miles thick, scarcity, you know, nothing to eat. I mean, so you become like that. And if Dr. Jeffries was here, he's on his way, he's going to tell you. If you were living in that cave and all that ice and you happen to look out and see a rabbit, and you and your clan get your clubs and you run the rabbit down and hit him in the head, or a deer, you're not going to run to the next hill and holler to the next cave, hey, y'all, come on up here. We got a rabbit. We got a deer. No, you look down the hill, and if you see the next cave, the people from the next cave coming your way, y'all all get your club. It's time for war. Y'all all get your club, and the winner, you know, they take all the women, kill all the men or whatever, but you become your nature. So the European lost something in that trance. He survived. It's a miracle. I look at how the Europeans survive all that ice, and I say, you know, the Creator is really great that human beings could withstand all of those thousands of years in that kind of climate and survive. But you lose something. You become that. You become austere. You become, you lose some of your soul. You lose it. So we're, as a people, we're dealing with that. African societies really were societies of ma'at, of peace, of harmony, no jails. No, you know what I mean? You had people to violate the principles of a community of law. But the families took care of them. You didn't have the kind of violence and stuff that you have today. We have to, if the world is to survive.
We don't have to go back that far. All we have to go back as far as you and I, when we came up as kids. Mm-hmm. So we can go back 70 years and bring up a whole different society that survived. 400 years of slavery.
That is true.
Okay? Now, what's happened to us? Never mind the European.
Well,
because we know his problem. What is our problem? How do we solve our problem? Getting back to the spiritual nature of ourselves.
let me kind of look at it in a different way. I want to shift a little bit. Everybody is born into the world on two journeys. You're born on your individual journey. I mean, you come here, you don't know anything, you got to learn everything, and you're searching for yourself. You're trying to find your place within this world. And you have community, and that's another journey and another stream. And so while you are trying, sometimes I say God has a real sense of humor, because everybody is on this journey to learn themselves and to learn their creator. They're searching, but you know, you're learning. And then you're thrown into a community where everybody is doing the same thing, trying to learn themselves, or bumping into each other, and we learn off each other, and et cetera, and trying. So if you're in a community that this learning process includes a Ma'atian way of life, then you know you develop the kind of peace. But this is a confused society that we live in. This is a confused world that we live in, and the dominant culture is one of violence, is one of I would say racism, but it is beyond that. It's one of control. It's one of greed. It's one you know, that wants to dominate the whole world. It is outside of, as Graham, you were pointing out, it's outside of this humane oneness with the universe. And this is what you were talking about. How do we get back into that? We get back into it through knowledge, through consciousness.
All right, we're going to bring on one of my favorite people. This next roll-in is from Clark House. I want you to run Mrs. Dr. Jeffries. Dr. Jeffries' wife. You know, bring him on the set. Are you out there, Doc? I can't see you.
And so that this means that this series should really be part of a university teaching at the university level, but also the community versus level, so that the person in the street, the grassroots, can understand what it means to be a policeman, what it means to be one that's righteous and one that's unrighteous, and to understand the history from whence we have come, and the points of view that's presented from a psychiatrist that can go down deep to present both sides of an issue, because we know in psychology these are the forces of good and evil within us that we battle with. And these are the forces within us as individuals, but also as a family. And there's certain things that are parts of the secrets of the universe that people don't want to come forward. And what it is that we are a parent people. The other races came from us. I was asked to work with the police department because I teach a course called Race and Ethnic Relations. And so the heads of the police department came and asked, well, how should we work with diversity in the city of New York, etc. And so they were going to have a course, you know, that they wanted to present. And they said, we'll experience it first. And so they came to me for me to take them around to teach them. And I took them to the Museum of Natural History and had planned some things to leave there, go to Schaumburg, and then go to
it was a little bit longer than that. I wanted to hear what she had to say. But Professor Jeffries, your better half, just gave us a presentation of us being a parent people and your colleague Clemson Brown, whose birthday's tomorrow.
No.
Whose birthday's tomorrow.
Congratulations.
He's catching up with you. He's catching up with
all
you.
that you have done
This
over
guy,
the
look
years.
at him. Young man,
Hey.
77 tomorrow.
Hey,
All right?
All right.
You're our leader, 78. All right. Your birthday's in January. Oh, you got a
January,
way to
that'll
go.
be the 80th. Four score.
Octogenarian.
So how's it feel to see a mate 50 years, 51 years ago?
52 now.
52?
52.
God, man.
Yeah. Well, it's great to have the experience of growing and learning together and becoming conscious of
Right.
your deeper self. And so I'm glad that the Creator stopped her from continuing, because she can go for several hours.
know.
And I mean, we would be just sitting here. But so she
You're
needs,
talking about the video.
she needs to come in person.
Yeah, we can
And,
Skype her in.
Yes, she. No, well,
right.
she'll come to.
So she's usually giving a lecture during this hour, right?
Right, and now she's in the court trying to deal with one of our.
Well, we
family
were
situations.
talking to Clemson Brown about Professor Yibo and the theory of
Unified field theory.
Gaga,
Unified
What is it?
field theory. Unified field theory.
which you know of. And we're explaining how we're parent people and that we need to get back to the years of Mayat to save this a system analysis of what we're doing now today as people. Let's update ourselves. We've been to the caves. We've gone 20,000 years back, talking about the beginnings of creation. Well, I want to come up to the 21st century, and how all this can apply to making us more spiritual than we've been in the last 50 years, or the last 16 years since the 21st century started. All right?
Well, certainly I'm one of those that greatly admires Professor Oyibo for his revelations of the significance of the universe and the universes. And we had to give thanks to our brother, Minister Clemson Brown, for continuing to support this type of awakening. And that's what it's about. We're searching for truth and knowledge. We're looking for the deeper understanding of self and extended self and our relationship to the universes. And so that's been a journey that has been most satisfying as we find out who we are personally. And we, as my wife said, Dr. Rouse and Jeffries, we are parent people. We are the mothers and fathers of at least the universe that we're conscious of. And but unfortunately, there are narratives of knowledge which help to make people full. In other words, you are born, that's your foundation, and we don't control that. That's our biological self. But to become you, you have to have a formation, and that's your sociological self. And so you're formed by society, even though you are biologically part of the universe. And so that relationship between formation and foundation needs to be thoroughly understood. We are programmed into our consciousness. And so we have to continually search for a deeper consciousness, because we're programmed as youngsters. And as we grow and develop and our consciousness expands, then we have to be aware of the enormity of what we're about. Because of the difficulty of understanding these things, there's been deceptions and, unfortunately, fraudulent approaches, because these are the mysteries. And very few people have understood and been aware of the great mysteries that exist. The life itself, or the universe itself. These are the great mysteries. Unfortunately, professors like Professor Oyibo have touched into larger understandings that we need to be aware of. And so because you may not appreciate and understand the mysteries, you accept something that's not very deep and very superficial. And that becomes institutionalized around what we refer to as our traditions. And those traditions are not based upon the deep understandings, they're based upon the survival. So it helps us into what I call survival culture, where you can go day to day and generation from generation and make your way. But the deeper understanding opens up what we call developmental culture, where we can see things beyond sight, where we can understand things that are beyond comprehension. And so when we look at the universe at night and we see the few stars, this is just a small part, an infinitesimal part of this larger understanding of the universe. If you take a plane and you fly and you see the billions of stars that are in the sky, and that's just in our reference point of what we have. So these mysteries are now being unraveled, and we have to give thanks for those who have laid a path for us to get deeper into them. Unfortunately,
How do we relate to the guy who's just looking for a new pair of sneakers, you know?
he's at survival culture. And so he would want to be able to take care of his basic food, clothing, and shelter, and his family. He's not worried about the deeper understanding, but some of our people are pushed into the deeper understandings and developmental culture. So it's Dr. Ben made a great contribution. He gave us the Nile Valley. He said everything else is unimportant if you don't understand the Nile, then you can't unravel some of the great mysteries. And so many of us have been following his great understanding, and it's an understanding that has exploded on us. Our great scholars, Professor Ivan Van Sertima, we don't think about him, but he linked blacks and science, ancient and modern.
Yes.
Our great philosophical teachers, Dr. Asa Hilliard, talked about that we are a consciousness and related to the universe. And so he gave us examples of how to live a developmental life as opposed to a survival life. And our great women, like Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, who just left us and joined the ancestors, she was saying you got to understand systems. And if you don't understand the system of white supremacy, everything else you think you understand will be a confusion. And so we have to work through things like understanding the system of white supremacy, which has created a narrative that has been founded on the fact that the mothers and fathers of the universe, people of our background, have been relegated to not being human in the narratives that nurture the systems that emerged that we refer to as the European American systems.
How do we explain Donald Trump?
Well, there are a lot of people in the insane asylums and other areas that would help us can I mean, this is a prime example of what the system of white supremacy can do to one. And
What have you got to lose?
Yes, what have you got to lose? So now he's appealing to the mothers and fathers of the universe to help me out. The tragedy is that we need to study him.
Of course.
He's not a joke. He is the mindset that has dominated the last few thousand years.
Okay.
And that mindset, unfortunately, has led to death and destruction. I refer to it as the 3 Ds: domination, destruction, and
But
death.
everybody sees through it.
No, everybody don't see.
Oh, yes, they do.
Donald Trump has
Yes,
a lot of followers.
There's a lot of
Yes.
people following this man, and remember when he
they're
said if
following
he shot,
the white supremacist theme.
Right. Well,
all right. This is what I'm trying to say. But you know, we're still in the master's house, all right, in America.
in his system.
In his system, it's slave mind mentally. A lot of black people are still mentally in slavery. All right. So since we're in this system together, how do we get out of madness like Donald Trump? Appealing to us, you got nothing to lose. You're poor. You're out of work, and you can blame it on who? We blame it on the white man.
you're never going to resolve this because, as I said before, you have counterbalances. You have yin and yang. You have pro and con. You have like and you have dislike. You have positive and you have negative.
Right.
All right? The negative will always be there. The positives will always be there. It is up to the individual to choose what side of the scale he or she chooses to lay their trust.
Well,
a guy like
what I'm
Trump,
asking is, how do we as spiritual people get on the same page?
Well, let me say this.
You know what I mean?
Graham, see what Graham is saying
Okay.
is accurate, but there's something beyond that.
yeah,
Now, there are seasons. You know, you're talking about opposites and the balance, but there are seasons which no man controls. No man controls the earth circling the sun. No man controls the sun in its circle within the universe. Man's control and man's power is very limited.
very.
And so there are seasons. There's a season to plant, and there's a season to harvest that which has been planted. In the winter, you see everything looks dead. I mean, the sap from the tree is pulled down to the roots, and that's done by nature. The sun's rays hit the earth at a certain dynamics, and so it is the Creator that do these things. And then when the spring comes, the sap rises from the root. The tree limbs that used to look dead and didn't have any green, they sprout. Flowers start to blossom without man having any control over it. Well, we are nature. We are part of that nature. And we are going through our cycle as African people. And Europeans are going through their cycle. And they are at a point in their cycle in which they are being terminated. That devastation that they have heaped upon the earth, they will no longer be in control. They're not in control now. They only think they're in control. And that's a part of what Professor Oyibo brings to the table. You know, we have to go deep, really, and study. And the Creator brings to our consciousness, because it's already in there. Everything, the tree, the seed has everything in it. The tree is in the seed. Everything is in the seed. It's already in us. We just have to bring it out, and we bring it out by living. You know, we need to love each other. We need to see each other
There you go.
and look at each other and give each other the energy of life.
That's what I'm
And we don't
talking
need to be afraid of the cracker.
That's,
I mean,
amen.
you know, we didn't come here to live forever.
Amen.
We came here and we are moving towards a transition. Everything moves towards a transition.
You have to get out of
You're
mental
100%
slavery.
right. There's been a paradigm shift over the last 25 years, and people have been missing it. I was in Martha's Vineyard week before last.
Yeah.
And the president was there, and we ran into him at Martha's Vineyard. Now, you remember I spoke to you about the Secret Service 8 years ago. And I'm watching them again in Martha's Vineyard. I watched 2 Secret Service agents in uniform, and they're warning people at the street corner, because people are looking to get a position to see the president as he comes out of this restaurant. And I'm standing there, and the agent is no further from me than you are, Winston. And my wife was Wand and the couple that was with us. But I laid back, and I'm watching these guys, and there's a TAC unit here with the machine guns and the Kevlar helmets and everything. And they're right here. Now, the agent who was standing, there's one person between me and the agent, and he says, James, and he's calling a brother, James, and they're in uniform. I'm tired, man. Let's forget about this. And they walk off their post. This is the President of the United States they're supposed to be guarding.
You think they're trying to set him up for assassination?
Well,
that's what you saw. That's what you saw.
If a Secret Service agent is standing on a street corner and says to another, this white agent says to a black agent, oh, well, forget about this, man, I'm tired. And they walk off their post. There's a van here with more agents with full battle regalia, machine guns, flak jackets, everything. And they just walk off their post. Now the president is coming out of that place in a couple of minutes. My wife turned around, the other people turned, everybody's like, did we just hear what we heard? So the attitude is, and I told Barack about this 8 years ago, they're not out here to protect you, but there is a paradigm shift here. All that you do to bring a person down is not necessarily going to bring that person down if they are covered. If they're
By the
divinely
Spirit.
covered.
By the Spirit.
Every negative thing that you try to do is only going to fail. This man has been in office for almost 8 years. He'll be leaving in January. But standing there and seeing these two agents walk off their posts with total disregard for the man they're supposed to be protecting. Paradigm shift. There is a level of control that black people are gaining consistently. And not all of it is in front of the TV cameras, and all of it is not known globally, but
Why-
it is going on.
Which is
Question,
why
question,
people
question.
like Trump are so, because white people feel they are losing power, they are losing control, they are aware of that paradigm shift, and they're trying to knock us off before it actualizes.
It can't happen.
That's what I'm talking
Well,
about.
you look at Chicago, we're making a pretty good effort of killing each other, aren't we?
That is because the consciousness, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No,
I have my turn, you go.
No, it's just because the consciousness. See, we just gave, Dr. Jeffries was a part of a series that we just put on at Mount
But I mean,
Church.
that's Trump's argument, isn't it?
What's
That
Trump?
we're killing each other, and that our schools are terrible, and why don't you try me? Man, I'm
We
about to
tried the
get you
Republican
guys
Party
some,
before.
some jobs. You're killing each other. Your mamas. Wow.
No, but what I'm saying is that we have to reach each other. I talked about loving each other and even learning how to look at one another where you project love and confidence and togetherness and because you can walk down the street in certain communities and you can't really look people in the eye. I mean,
that must be in Brooklyn.
You walk down the street, people, they kind of like, I spent a little time in the ring, and a lot of times fights are lost when you first get in the ring, and you have that eye-to-eye comeback, contact. So you walking down the street, and especially when you're in kind of a combat areas in the community, people will size you up, and so you might be looking what the F you looking at me for?
Yeah,
I mean,
why is that? Why
that is because of the deadness that we have to one another.
That self-hate.
We've been taught that. That's self-hate,
right.
but we've been taught that.
You're going to bring in Willie Lynch now.
No, but we have to have
real.
what I refer to as a systems analysis.
It's real.
Trump and what he's doing and how he's projecting himself creates a paralysis analysis.
Okay.
But we need to look at and see Trump as a manifestation of the system of white supremacy.
Right.
Someone who actually
Of
thinks
course, exactly.
he is godly.
Exactly.
And that he can claim and do anything he wants. Now he's flipping the script. Every day he comes up with another approach to things. But he represents that dominant force, unfortunately, in the white community that has been negative. He's a slave master.
Yeah, exactly.
Who thought he could rule.
Right,
but
exactly.
Slavery, in that sense of his ruling, is gone. We could not accept it. We didn't accept it. And we moved on the system of enslavement. Now mental slavery is in place.
Right.
And so instead of us being educated to truth, we're educated to a lie. And so, unfortunately, we're socialized in that process. So the black communities didn't have this circumstance that they have now. This is a result of a programming a self-hate. This is the result of dumping drugs in our community.
That's my point.
So
That's
we have to have a
exactly it.
systems analysis. But
Planned genocide.
what Graham was trying to say is that the president and his wife and her mother and those angels in the White House have tapped into another thing. They are doing what they're called upon to do.
That's right.
Who knows what that call was, but they are manifesting it. And the system of white supremacy cannot stand this black man in their midst, even though they needed him to keep the system together because it had
The
collapsed.
ship was going down.
And so
Now, side comments about Obama is that he's working for the what is he? He's working for the slave master.
well, he's in the white system. He is the symbol of leadership of the white system. There's no African system, but somehow he has tapped into enough of the African system to survive the white system, to thrive in the white system. And once he leaves, they're going to make him the worst person who ever existed in the world.
No.
That's the way. That's
If
the
they
narrative.
can write the books.
That's
if
right.
They can write the
if they
books.
can write the
And
books.
if you'll read them and believe them,
Now we got to lift them up, because I mean, like Michelle said, you know, they shoot low, we shoot high, and this should be our theme as people. They've shot us so low all the time, but we bring him a spiritual nature. We bring him the truth about being human, as we all know. And you got to love one another. You got to have that God consciousness. You got to love your brother, uplift your enemy. Sit down, fool. You've been evil long enough. Now it's time to become.
Right. And
Look how we survive.
And in our deepest value systems, in our cultural manifestations throughout time, there's been a yin and yang. There's been a law of opposites. And one of the central themes has been there's been materialism.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the center of things. That's a manifestation. The spiritual component is the center of things. And so those who go into deep thought have a spiritual dimension that they can move on, whereas the material dimension is finite. The spiritual dimension is infinite. And that's when we're trying to grapple with this infinite component of the universe. We're calling it God or whatever manifestation we're calling it. But we will be finished here. I'm at 80. Clemson is running up under me. Graham is trying to catch up, and you're trying to catch up. So we're going to be finished.
Well, Graham's way behind.
Materially, we will be finished. But spiritually, that whole question of the mystery of the divine will be eternal. It's infinite. And so we have to be able to tap into that level of understanding. You make your contribution, no matter what the circumstances are, but you're a part of a larger understanding of life. We can call it whatever we refer to, love, respect, etc. And the Africans understood that. When you have, for example, an African figure, Queen T's son. Queen T was one of the greatest figures in human history, ruled with her great husband, Amenhotep III, for 36 years. And then when he passed, she ruled 12 years by herself. And then when her son took the throne, she ruled as mother regent with him for 16 years. We need to study this woman's spiritual relationship, not in terms of her physical ruling, but her spiritual ruling. They actually moved from the greatest city in the history of the world, the city of 100 gates, Thebes, because it had become so materially corrupt and poisonous that they decided that they would move into the desert and build a new city of God based upon the spirituality that is the finite understanding of things. And so we need to understand these things and then move past seeing Trump or Crump or Crumb or whatever we want to call him as something significant. He is the process that allows us to reflect on what we do not want to be and how we have to move into another system's understanding.
How many of us do you think are going to stay home when it comes time to vote and now feel that we're a part of this house master?
I think it's going to be a major
Slave
turnout.
master.
A major turnout.
Or do you think people are going to turn out to make sure this man,
I believe
the slave master, doesn't get
I
the White
believe
House?
that people are going to turn out. Matter of fact, very recently, the Supreme Court ruled against, I think, North Carolina on ID for voting. You know.
Oh, really?
You know, you
Was that
can't
the fourth
can't
state?
sleep. Can't sleep this stuff.
Okay.
The Attorney General has been on it, Holder was on it, and the President Attorney General is still on it, but I think people, they're expecting the turnout to be great. That's why they're trying to put these restrictions on voting. And the federal courts last week struck down North Carolina's attempt to stop people from voting. I think the turnout's going to be great. The white supermajority, you know, the white people who are the supremacists of the mindset of Trump, they're definitely going to show out. They always vote. That's why if they knew that people were not going to turn out, you wouldn't see the restrictions on voting they're trying to put in place. The Latino vote, which is now even larger than the African American vote. These two composites are critical. Trump knows he has neither in his camp. Neither. Look at the Latinos. Let's look at the issue of immigration, immigration reform. It's not just Latinos looking for a break on immigration. There are plenty of West Indians looking for breaks on immigration. Haitians as well.
Yeah.
So people of color and the colorization of this country is what is scaring the white elite in this country. They're afraid. You know, the Klan talked about later, you know, the miscegenation. They'll be trying to get in bed with your daughters. They already lost their daughters. The sons have run after the black girls. The daughters have run after the black guys. People are merging across lines now, and there's nothing they can do to stop it. The melanization of the United States is real. It is a 21st century reality, and the mindset of the people is changing, even looking at how they voted for Barack Obama. White people decided to go with the black man over and against the white guy and the white woman or whoever was running. So the mindset...
But Obama's mother was white.
Yes, but just the same, he doesn't look white, he doesn't portray white, he doesn't profess to be white, he doesn't have straight hair, and he's not from the power elite, all right? But white people assess the situation, and they said, we're better with this black man at the helm than we are with McCain or the other guy that was running the last time.
But look what they left him with.
Regardless, the voting public did not leave that with him.
They never believed that he could bring us back.
They didn't.
They
He was on the
thought he would
Titanic,
fall
but he
apart.
resurrected it. But the white people that vote are not the white people running the government.
Okay.
They are not part of the power
The spiritual people of America,
You know?
maybe?
What I was going to say is that Barack has been president for the last 8 years. So there are young people, white people, young people,
I see where you're
period,
going, right?
who was 8 and 12. They
Right.
just becoming voting age, but all they have known
It's a black man.
is a black man. The only thing they have known is really blackness in the sense that hip hop, everything, you know, that they really are being modeled after, seeking, is black, and their leadership has been black.
And if they don't have
So
any, if they don't have any
that's
jobs,
a
they're going to
serious-
listen to Donald Trump, aren't they?
But
what I
unemployment
mean?
is lower than it has been.
Not
In the
according to
last-
Donald Trump and the Republicans.
No, that's a lie. So
Of course we know it's a lie, but but we're
Everything
saying,
is
who's
better
gonna
since
believe the
Barack.
lie?
the baby boomer generation is the smaller generation in this country right now. The Generation X and the millennials have taken over. Gray-haired guys are the minority, even in voting. There was on CNN, there was a woman interviewing some white women in Ohio about, you know, the whole thing. And I said to my wife, I said, what do you see about these women they're interviewing? They all are old with white hair. Where they are in terms of race and issues that matters, that's that old, bent out 1950s thinking. The young people are on a different page. And that is the group to address on every given issue. It is the young people that were going to the Middle East, losing their lives, losing their limbs, and coming back to this country to find that there was no support after having served this country, just as black men experienced it. Okay?
But
the young people are the ones that are going to be carrying this election.
Let's talk about how the Republicans tied Barack Obama up for the last 8 years, and how anything he's put forth that was beneficial towards the country was shot down. This is not brought out by Hillary or anybody campaigning. Let's talk about the real deal. Anything he tried to do good, they put a stop on it.
But the system analysis that I always
hurry up.
say we have to have, the system analysis says that that's what the system does. He did not create the system. He's been asked to help manage the system. We have to not get too excited about Trump because he's a manifestation of a system.
Right.
So we can talk about the different questions of employment, the different questions of this and that, but if you see the forest and you focus on a tree, then you miss what the forest is all about.
Right.
So I'm trying to say that we have yet to put a mindset together to develop the foundations of our own system.
Okay.
And so no matter who is in place, this existing system will have to be moved out of the way or devastated and self-destructed.
There's no
but
getting
we
rid of
have
this
to
system.
have our own understanding of how we're going to put our system in place.
I like to, I
and
like to think
Clemson,
that
I
we
think-
can work in the system. Now you have some.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about, see, we've had a lecture series going on, the communiversity, in which so much has been covered. And Dr. Jeffries will be speaking on September 3rd. But
Oh, I didn't
for
know that.
the next 3 weeks, we will be at 1061 Atlantic Avenue from 9 in the morning to 4 in the evening. Breakfast and lunch will be served. It's all free. So we're asking everybody to come out. This week we got Dr. Charles Pitts, who is going to be talking about the germ warfare that is actually being inflicted on not just black people, the world, but focusing on black people. It's a very powerful lecture, and there'll be 3 lecturers. So the next 3 Saturdays, we're going to be at 1061 Atlantic Avenue. That's the Christian Times building.
Right.
From 9 in the morning to 4 in the evening. Your breakfast and your lunch is free. We figured since we want you to come out early, we got to feed you. So we're going to feed you. So come on out, and you're going to hear Dr. Jeffries. You're going to hear Brother M. Shabisi. I mean, just a whole plethora of speakers. And we're going to be talking about all of these issues. We'll be talking about all of these
Also,
I'm sorry we didn't start early on this. I should have put some numbers up.
Edwin Raymond is getting promoted Tuesday afternoon at One Police Plaza. He was here on the show with us, with the officers exposing
30
the
seconds, Doc.
productivity.
It was great that we had this chat with compadre.
Can I give a number? So
Clemson Brown. We have 25 seconds.
Okay.
I should have put that on the screen.
Yeah, you can get in contact with us at 437.
And thank you for coming to the Gilchrist Experience.
773.
Loves the God in you.
773.
347-773.
God,
82.
thank you. Power to the people.
8203.